Hey guys, tonight we are walking barefoot across creaking wooden floorboards, candlelight trembling on plaster walls, and the distant echo of laughter spilling out of London taverns in the year 1666. You're just an ordinary resident of this crowded city, probably thinking about your next meal or whether your landlord will raise the rent again. Spoiler alert, you probably won't survive this night, but hey, optimism is overrated. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, drop your location and local time in the comments. I love seeing where in the world you're listening from. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You live in a city that smells like smoke even on its best days. London in 1666 is noisy, dirty, and alive. Horses clatter over uneven cobblestones, merchants shout about fresh bread and fish, and somewhere nearby, someone is arguing loudly over a gambling debt. Your home is probably a narrow wooden structure, leaning slightly like it's tired of standing. Most houses here are made of timber, with upper floors jutting out over the street so neighbors could practically shake hands from their bedroom windows. It's cozy in a claustrophobic way, like living inside a wooden maze soaked in candle wax and spilled ale. Tonight feels normal. That's the scary part. You're getting ready for bed, maybe after a long day working as a shop assistant, a dock worker, or an apprentice. The Great Plague only ended last year, so death still feels like a neighbor who overstays their welcome. Historians still argue whether the fire was seen as divine punishment or just spectacularly bad urban planning, but right now you're just grateful to still be breathing. You blow out your candle, leaving the room in a thick, velvety darkness. The city never truly sleeps, but the sounds soften. Somewhere, a watchman calls out the hour. 1 o'clock, and all is well, he shouts like he's trying to convince himself. You pull your blanket tighter, made from rough wool that itches but keeps the cold out. September nights can be chilly, and London has a habit of letting damp air creep into your bones. Outside, the streets are narrow enough to trap heat like an oven. Buildings are packed together like drunk friends at closing time. There's no real firefighting system. If something goes wrong, neighbors form bucket lines from the nearest well, passing water hand to hand. It's charming. It's also wildly ineffective. The official method to stop fires is to demolish buildings ahead of the flames to create fire breaks. Basically, if your neighbor's house is on fire, your house might get smashed to pieces for the greater good. Sleep tight. You drift in and out of dreams. Maybe you're thinking about tomorrow's tasks or replaying some awkward conversation. Londoners love gossip, especially after surviving the plague. There's talk of omens lately. A comet passed overhead recently, and people swear it looked like a flaming sword. Super comforting. There was also that strange case of a chicken laying a square egg, which according to one local, definitely means something terrible is coming. Quirky tidbit of the night. In 17th century London, people seriously believed misshapen bread or oddly shaped vegetables were divine warnings. Imagine being scared by a cursed carrot. Somewhere across the city you hear faint shouting, but it's easy to ignore. London is always loud. A drunk stumbles, a couple argues, someone sings badly. You turn over and close your eyes again. Your building creaks like it's stretching. The wood is old, dried out from years of soot and smoke. Perfect kindling, really. Let's pause for one mainstream historical fact. In 1666, London had about 80,000 buildings, and nearly all of them were made of timber with thatch or wooden shingles. Fire safety was basically a rumor. No organized fire brigade existed. The tools, leather buckets, fire hooks, and prayer. Your sleep deepens. You don't know it yet, but this is the last peaceful moment you'll have for days. The city holds its breath, like the calm before a storm. Except instead of rain, it's about to be fire. A faint smell reaches your nose. At first, you think someone is burning toast. Then it sharpens. Smoke. You sit up slowly, heart doing a confused little flutter. It's not thick yet, but it's there. You crack open your window. Down the street, there's an orange glow. Not candlelight. Bigger, hungrier. Someone screams. Another shout follows. Your stomach drops. This isn't normal city noise. You throw on your clothes, hands shaking just a little. You rush outside and are hit with heat. The glow comes from the east. Flames are licking up the side of a building, painting the night sky in violent orange. People are spilling into the street, half-dressed, holding crying child. Section 2. You follow the flow of bodies moving away from the fire, feet slipping on uneven stones, heart pounding like it's trying to escape your rib cage. The orange glow behind you grows brighter, as if the sun decided to rise at the wrong end of the city. Someone nearby mutters a prayer. Someone else swears loudly. Both feel appropriate. The word spreads quickly. It started in a bakery on Pudding Lane, Thomas Farriner's place. You might even know it. Maybe you bought bread there before, admired the smell of fresh loaves wafting into the street. Funny how something so comforting can turn into a nightmare factory overnight. Here's the mainstream historical fact for this stretch of your journey. The fire began just after midnight on September 2nd, 1666, when a spark from Farriner's oven caught some nearby firewood. He forgot to fully extinguish it. Oops, that tiny oversight will soon cost the city billions in modern money and change urban planning forever. No pressure. You imagine Farriner waking up to the crackle of flames, scrambling to save his family. He manages to escape with his children through an upstairs window, climbing onto a neighbor's roof. His maid, not so lucky. She becomes the first recorded casualty of the fire. Tragic, quiet, and almost forgotten amid the chaos. You don't know Farriner personally, but already people are pointing fingers. "It's his fault," someone shouts. Another yells that bakers are careless devils. A woman insists the French must be behind it. You sigh. Londoners love a villain. Historians still argue whether Farriner truly caused it all, or whether the fire was inevitable given the city's design. The truth is, London was basically a wooden tinderbox soaked in centuries of grease, soot, and bad decisions. The bakery spark was just the excuse. You stop for a moment to catch your breath. Smoke curls through the streets, turning lantern light into hazy halos. You can taste it now, bitter and dry. Every breath feels like swallowing ash. Your throat burns. A man next to you clutches a sack of flour like it's gold. "My livelihood," he pants. Another carries a door. Just a whole door. No one questions it. In disaster mode, everything feels logical. Quirky tidbit time. Some Londoners tried to save their cheese wheels by rolling them down the street like medieval bowling balls. Picture that. Grown adults chasing runaway cheese while their city burns. History is wild. The fire spreads faster than anyone expects. Wind funnels through narrow alleys, turning them into flame cannons. Sparks leap from roof to roof. Thatch ignites instantly. You hear wood collapse with a sound like thunder. It's not just burning, it's roaring, like the city itself is screaming. You think about the firefighting tools, buckets, leather buckets that leak, fire hooks meant to pull down burning beams. That's it. No hoses, no engines, just human chains and hope. People form a bucket line near a well, passing water hand to hand, but the flames laugh at it. The water hisses and evaporates before it can do anything meaningful. You feel useless. Everyone does. Someone shouts that the Lord Mayor has arrived. You push closer, curious and desperate. Sir Thomas Bloodworth stands nearby, looking overwhelmed. He's asked if they should start pulling down houses to create fire breaks. He hesitates. Demolishing property is a big deal. Lawsuits loom even in 1666. He allegedly mutters something like, "A woman could piss it out." Historical sass. Unfortunately, he's very wrong. This hesitation cost the city dearly. Historians still argue whether earlier decisive action could have stopped the fire. Spoiler, probably yes. But humans love to hesitate when it matters most. The mayor leaves, no orders given. The crowd groans. Someone throws their hat on the ground in frustration. The fire keeps moving, unstoppable now. You're torn. Do you keep running? Or do you go back and try to help? Your survival instincts scream, "Run!" But guilt whispers, "Help your neighbors." You compromise by grabbing a bucket and joining a short line. You pass water. Your arms burn. The bucket feels heavy, like it's filled with regret. It does nothing. The flames jump the street. Now your side is on fire too. People scatter. You drop the bucket and sprint. Your lungs ache. Heat presses against your back. It feels like a giant hand pushing you forward. You remember your house? Is it still standing? You turn and see smoke where your street should be. Your stomach sinks. That's probably it. All your stuff. Gone. That spoon from your aunt? Ash. Your boots. Toast. You laugh. Not because it's funny, but because your brain short circuits. Humans laugh when overwhelmed. It's weird. More rumors spread. The Dutch did it, someone screams. England is at war with the Dutch right now, so obviously they're setting London on fire using secret invisible fire spies? Logic has left the building. People eye foreigners suspiciously. Section 3. You think maybe, just maybe, the fire will tire itself out. Fires burn fuel, right? That's what you tell yourself as you sit on the cold stones near the river, hugging your sad little bundle of belongings. Surely it can't keep eating the city forever. But then the wind changes, and your fragile hope goes up in smoke. A strong gust sweeps down the streets like an invisible monster, grabbing flames and hurling them forward. The fire doesn't crawl anymore. It runs. It leaps across gaps that should be safe, jumping from rooftop to rooftop as if gravity has taken the night off. You watch in horror as sparks fly hundreds of feet ahead, landing on dry thatch and turning entire blocks into instant bonfires. Here's your mainstream historical fact for this section. The wind that night blew from the east, straight through London's tightly packed streets, acting like a giant bellows. It supercharged the fire, making it nearly impossible to contain. Firestorms form, sucking in fresh air and feeding the flames even more. Nature just joined the fire's team. People start screaming again. You didn't think there were new levels of panic, but apparently there are. A woman drops to her knees, sobbing. A man tries to push a cart overloaded with furniture, but a wheel snaps off, spilling chairs and table legs into the street. He stares at them for a second, then abandons everything and runs. You get up, instinctively moving with the crowd. The wind slaps smoke into your face. Your eyes stream. You cough so hard you almost throw up. Breathing feels like inhaling powdered charcoal. Someone shouts that the fire has reached Thames Street. Another yells that it's heading for the warehouses. That's bad, very bad. Those warehouses are full of oil, tar, alcohol, and other flammable goodies. Basically a medieval fireworks store. Quirky tidbits sliding in. London's riverfront warehouses stored whale oil used for lamps. Whale oil burns beautifully. Unfortunately, beautiful in this context means apocalyptic. A sudden boom rattles the ground. You flinch. Barrels explode. Flames shoot higher. The crowd gasps. Some people think it's cannon fire. War panic flares again. The Dutch, someone screams. They're bombing us. Logic? Gone. People start looking for spies in the shadows. You duck into an alley for a moment, needing a break from the madness. The walls are warm to the touch. That's not comforting. You lean against them anyway, chest heaving. Historians still argue whether the chaos was worsened by war paranoia or if Londoners would have panicked just as badly without it. Either way, fear spreads faster than fire. You hear hooves. Soldiers ride past, trying to keep order. Their faces look just as scared as everyone else's. Authority means nothing against a wall of flame. The mayor is mentioned again. Word spreads that he fled. Abandoned ship. Whether that's true or not, people believe it, and belief is powerful. Anger bubbles up. Someone curses his name. Someone else throws a stone at a burning building, as if it personally betrayed them. You rejoin the moving mass of bodies. It feels like being caught in a human tide. Everyone flows west, away from the inferno. You're pushed along whether you like it or not. The heat gets worse. You feel it on your back, even from a distance. Your clothes stick to your skin. Sweat and ash mix into a gritty paste. You look over your shoulder. The skyline is gone. Where buildings once stood, there's a jagged horizon of flames. Roofs collapse inward like melting wax. You hear screams from somewhere inside, but you can't tell where. Smoke hides everything. The noise is constant. Crackling, roaring, crashing. It's like standing next to a dragon that never stops breathing fire. You remember your neighbor with the gunpowder. You wonder if his house has gone up yet. Another boom answers your question. Probably. Here's a fringe tidbit. Some people tried to fight the fire using milk and ale when water ran out. Imagine desperately throwing beer on a burning building. That's the most British disaster response imaginable. The crowd reaches a wider street. For a moment, there's hope. More space means maybe the fire can't jump, right? Wrong. Burning debris flies through the air like angry firebirds. One lands on a cart. Flames erupt instantly. People scatter again. A child trips. You grab them by the arm and pull them up without thinking. Their faces streaked with soot and tears. "Where's your mum?" you ask, but they just cry harder. You scan the crowd, heart racing. Finally, a woman appears screaming the child's name. You shove the kid toward her. She hugs them fiercely, then mouths "thank you" before being swallowed by the crowd again. Your hands shake. Adrenaline is doing overtime. You feel strangely detached, like you're watching a play. Maybe your brain is protecting you. Trauma does that. It puts up emotional bubble wrap. The wind howls again, louder this time. Flames sue. Section 4. Morning arrives, but it doesn't look like morning. The sky is still orange, smeared with black smoke, like someone dragged charcoal across the clouds. You wake up stiff and sore on the cold ground of Moorfields, using your bundle of belongings as a pillow. Around you, people stir slowly, coughing, rubbing their eyes, trying to remember where they are. Then they see the glow again, and it all comes rushing back. The fire never slept. It burned all night, chewing through streets, hopping over fire breaks like they were mild suggestions. You stand and stretch, joints cracking, and look toward the city. It's hard to recognize anything. Landmarks are gone. Whole neighborhoods are razed. It feels like someone scooped out part of your memory and left a smoking hole. Here's your mainstream historical fact for today's misery. By the morning of September 3rd, the fire had already destroyed large portions of the city, including important commercial areas near the river. Trade was paralyzed. England's economic heart was literally on fire. You hear people whispering about St. Paul's Cathedral. Some say it's safe. It's made of stone, after all. Others swear it's doomed. You squint through the smoke and see the massive structure standing like a stubborn old giant. Booksellers had stored their stock in the crypt, thinking it was fireproof. Spoiler, paper and fire have beef. You decide to move again. Staying still feels wrong, like tempting fate. The crowd starts drifting back toward the city, drawn by curiosity and stubborn hope. Maybe your house survived. Maybe your street is still there. Your brain clings to these maybes like a lifeline. As you walk, you notice how quiet everyone is. Yesterday was screaming and chaos. Today feels numb. Trauma hangover. People speak in whispers like they're at a funeral, which honestly they are. A funeral for a city. You reach streets that were once busy. Now they're blackened skeletons. Walls stand without roofs. Chimneys poke up like broken teeth. The ground crunches under your boots. That's ash. And maybe worse things you don't want to think about. Quirky tidbit. Some Londoners roasted meat over the flames from their burning homes. Dark humor? Practical survival? Probably both. If your house is burning anyway, might as well get a snack. Humanity is resourceful in the strangest ways. You spot what used to be your street, or at least you think it is. Everything looks the same when it's burned. You walk slowly, heart hammering. There's your neighbor's shop, or what's left of it. A charred sign swings in the breeze. You step closer. Your house is gone. Not damaged, not smoking. Gone. Just a blackened patch where it once stood. Your chest tightens. You kneel, touching the warm ground. It smells like wet charcoal. This is it. Your entire life reduced to nothing. Historians still argue whether the emotional trauma of the fire was as devastating as the physical destruction. But kneeling here, you don't need a debate. You feel it, deep in your bones. People around you cry openly now. Yesterday they were too busy running. Today reality hits. A woman wails over a pile of rubble. A man stares silently at where his business used to be, jaw clenched so tight you think it might crack. Someone says the fire's moving west toward the wealthy areas. That makes people bitter. The rich are finally getting a taste of what the poor already lost. Misery loves company. You hear another rumor? King Charles II himself is helping, directing firefighting efforts. Whether it's true or not, it spreads hope. The idea of the king out there, sleeves rolled up, makes people feel less abandoned. And actually, this time it's real. Historical fact, King Charles II and his brother, the Duke of York, did actively help coordinate efforts, ordering buildings to be pulled down to create fire breaks. Leadership finally shows up, late, but still appreciated. You watch soldiers using hooks to tear down houses. It feels brutal. People scream as their homes are destroyed on purpose. But it works. Gaps appear. Flames slow, just a little. You feel torn watching it. You already lost everything. But if destroying someone else's house saves 10 more, is it worth it? There are no easy answers in disasters. Here's a scholarly debate moment. Historians still argue whether earlier demolition could have saved most of the city or if the fire was already unstoppable due to weather conditions. You watch another building crash down and think, probably both. The wind picks up again, undoing progress. Fire jumps the new gaps. People groan in frustration. It feels like fighting a god. By afternoon, exhaustion hits. You haven't eaten. You nibble on the stale bread you grabbed. It tastes like dust, but you chew anyway. Calories are calories. You wander toward the river again. Boats are overloaded with furniture, chests, people, pets. Some families sleep in boats now, too scared to be on land. The Thames becomes a Wai. Section 5. You wake again to the same orange dawn. It feels like time is stuck, like the sun forgot how to rise properly. Your throat hurts from breathing smoke all night, and your lips are cracked. Around you, people cough, groan, and sit up slowly, like a zombie movie but with worse fashion. Word spreads through the crowd that the Lord Mayor still hasn't ordered proper fire breaks everywhere. You feel anger bubble up. Yesterday's hesitation cost the city dearly, and now people are paying for it with their homes. You overhear a man shouting, "If he'd acted sooner, none of this would have happened." No one argues with him. Mainstream historical fact moment. Sir Thomas Bloodworth, the Lord Mayor, seriously underestimated the fire. His delay in authorizing widespread demolition allowed the flames to spread uncontrollably. Leadership failure 101. You join a group heading back toward the city again. Maybe you're hoping for a miracle. Maybe you just can't accept that everything is gone. Trauma makes people do weird things, like revisiting the scene of disaster over and over. The heat grows as you approach. Even from far away, you can feel it on your face, like standing too close to a giant campfire. The air shimmers. Birds circle above, confused, then vanish into smoke. You see soldiers now, more of them. They're finally taking action. Gunpowder charges are being set inside buildings. The plan? Blow them up to create fire breaks. Extreme? Yes. Effective? Also yes. Quirky tidbit. Some homeowners beg soldiers not to blow up their houses and even tried to bribe them. Imagine negotiating with explosives. "Please don't destroy my house. Here's a chicken." Disaster diplomacy. You stand back as a charge goes off. Boom! The ground shakes. Dust fills the air. A building collapses inward, like it just gave up on life. People gasp, some cheer, others cry. It's a weird emotional cocktail. Historians still argue whether this gunpowder strategy was the real turning point or if the wind simply calmed down at the same time. You don't care about academic debates right now. You just know it's working. A little. The fire finally slows in some areas. Not stopped, slowed. Like a tired monster still swinging but missing more often. You help where you can. Carry water, move rubble, offer your shoulder to someone who's crying. You're not a hero, but you're human, and humans cling together when everything else burns. You pass a man staring at a ring in his palm. "Only thing I saved," he whispers. You nod. No words feel right. Another fringe tidbit floats in. Some people buried their valuables in the ground to protect them from the fire. Treasure hunt, but tragic addition. Years later, some of it will still be found. Smoke darkens the sky again. Wind changes direction, and the fire surges in a new path. Groans ripple through the crowd. Just when you think you're winning, it punches back. You hear bells again. Churches are burning now, too. You see flames licking up a steeple. Faith doesn't get a free pass tonight. Historians still argue whether people prayed more during the fire or lost faith altogether. Watching a church burn does weird things to belief systems. You feel strangely calm. Exhaustion dulls fear. Your body is on autopilot. You move, help, step back, repeat. Disaster routine. By evening, rumors spread that the king himself is nearby again. People whisper excitedly. Hope flickers. If the king hasn't fled, maybe London won't die. You glimpse him briefly in the distance, riding, pointing, giving orders. He looks tired but determined. Leadership finally showing up when it matters most. Night falls again, but you can barely tell. The fire provides its own sun now. Shadows dance wildly on the ground. Everything looks like a nightmare painting. You sit down hard, back against a stone wall. You haven't eaten properly in 2 days. Your stomach growls. Someone shares a crust of bread. You thank them like they just gave you gold. You think about your old life, your routines, your favorite corner shop, your neighbor's annoying rooster, all gone. It feels unreal, like you'll wake up from this nightmare any second. But you don't. The fire is still there. And so are you. Section 6. You wake to a strange silence. Not peaceful silence. More like the quiet after someone slams a door in your face. The roaring, crackling monster that has haunted your ears for days finally sounds distant. You sit up slowly, heart pounding, afraid to hope too hard. The sky is still smoky, but the orange glow has dulled. The fire is weakening. For the first time since this nightmare began, you allow yourself a tiny breath of relief. Mainstream historical fact sliding in gently. By the morning of September 5th, the wind finally died down. This was crucial. Without the wind feeding it, the fire lost much of its terrifying power. Nature giveth, nature taketh away. You stand and look toward the city. It's still burning, but not with the same rage. Flames crawl instead of sprint. Soldiers continue blasting buildings apart with gunpowder. This time, the gaps actually hold. Fire breaks finally work. People whisper it like a sacred phrase. The fire is stopping. Not stopped. Stopping. Baby steps. You walk closer, cautious, like approaching a wounded animal. The air is still thick, but you can breathe without choking now. That alone feels miraculous. You see entire neighborhoods flattened. Streets that once buzzed with life now look like the bones of some giant creature picked clean. Charred beams poke out at weird angles. Chimneys stand alone. Lonely survivors. Quirky tidbit time. Some chimneys became landmarks for people trying to find where their houses once stood. Mine was next to the crooked chimney, they'd say, like a twisted version of a treasure map. You try to locate your own home again. You fail. Everything looks identical when it's burned. It's like the city lost its fingerprints. People wander around in a daze. Some search rubble with bare hands, hoping for something recognizable. A spoon, a key, anything to prove their old life existed. You find a half-melted mug, not yours, but you still stare at it. Someone once drank from this. Now it's just a warped memory. Historians still argue whether most deaths went unrecorded during the fire. Official numbers claim only a few died. But honestly, that feels optimistic. Fire like this doesn't politely spare everyone. You spot a group of children playing in ash, pretending it's snow. You blink, confused. Then you realize kids are weirdly resilient. Their laughter feels out of place but comforting. Life doesn't pause, even in ruins. You help an older man lift a beam. Underneath, he finds a bent metal box. He cries when he opens it. Inside are letters. You step away, giving him privacy. Some moments don't need witnesses. A soldier passes, covered in soot, eyes hollow. It's almost done, he mutters. You nod, unsure if you believe him. Another historical fact gently drifts in. About 13,200 houses were destroyed. That's roughly 87% of the city. London didn't just burn, it was erased. You feel small thinking about it. You're one person in a city of ghosts. The king orders more patrols. They want to prevent looting. But honestly, what's left to steal? Ash? Broken bricks? Disaster brings out the worst and the weirdest in people. Fringe tidbit, some folks tried selling authentic fire ash as souvenirs. Capitalism never sleeps, even when the city does. You sit on a broken wall and stare. Your body finally starts to crash. The adrenaline that kept you moving for days drains out. Your hands shake. You feel cold even though embers still glow nearby. This is shock. Delayed, sneaky shock. You wrap your arms around yourself. A woman nearby offers you a blanket. You thank her softly. Kindness feels louder than explosions right now. Historians still argue whether the fire ultimately benefited London in the long run. New building laws, wider streets, brick houses, progress born from ashes. But sitting here, staring at destruction, it's hard to see the silver lining. Progress doesn't bring back photos, or smells, or memories tied to walls that no longer exist. The fire finally stops, not with drama, no grand finale. It just fades, like a dying candle. You don't cheer, no one does. It feels wrong to celebrate when so much is lost. People stand quietly watching smoke drift upward. Some pray, some just stare. You whisper to yourself, I survived. It feels strange in your mouth, heavy, because surviving doesn't mean you're okay. It just means you're still here. Section 7. The fire is out, but the nightmare isn't over. In some ways, this part is worse. You wake up to a city that looks like the skeleton of something that used to be alive. Smoke still curls lazily from blackened ruins, like the last sighs of a dying beast. The air smells different now, less sharp, more sad. Burned wood, wet ash, loss. You walk carefully through what used to be your neighborhood. Every step crunches. Ash, brick, memories. You try to picture where things once stood. The baker on the corner, the noisy tavern, your favorite shortcut alley. It's all gone, blended into a gray blur. Mainstream historical fact for this stretch. Nearly 70,000 people were left homeless after the fire. That's most of London's population. Imagine an entire city suddenly having nowhere to sleep. Refugee crisis, 17th century edition. Temporary camps pop up everywhere. Moorfields, St. George's Fields. Tents made from sheets, sails, whatever people salvage. Families huddle together. Privacy? Gone. Comfort? A rumor. You find a spot near a tree and sit. Your body feels heavy, like gravity doubled overnight. Hunger gnaws at you, but food is scarce. The government promises aid, but logistics move slower than rumors. Someone hands out broth. Thin, watery, but warm. You sip it carefully. It tastes like hope, honestly. Quirky tidbit. Some people roasted potatoes in leftover embers and called it fire feast. Tragic picnic energy. You overhear conversations around you. Everyone has a story. We barely escaped. My sister didn't make it. I lost everything. Trauma bonding, but with strangers. A woman talks about sleeping in a boat for 3 nights because she was too scared to stay on land. A man admits he tried to swim across the Thames with a chest of coins and nearly drowned. Greed versus survival. Spoiler, survival usually wins. Historians still argue whether more people died than records show. Officially, only a handful are counted. But fires don't politely avoid the poor. Many deaths probably went undocumented, especially among the homeless and servants. You look around at the faces, exhausted, hollow, sunburned from firelight. These are survivors, and survivors carry invisible scars. Food prices skyrocket. Water is rationed. Tempers flare easily. Someone accuses another of stealing bread. A small crowd gathers. Soldiers break it up. Civilization feels fragile right now. Another fringe tidbit. Some people believed the fire purified London and cured plague residue. They thought disease would disappear now. Medieval optimism is something. You wander through the camps. A man is trying to build a shelter using a door balanced on bricks. You help him prop it up. He thanks you like you just saved his life. Maybe you did. Small wins matter now. A child asks you, is our house coming back? You don't know what to say, so you say, maybe a better one. You hope that's true. King Charles orders food shipments and promises rebuilding. Plans are whispered about. Brick houses, wider streets, fewer death traps. It sounds good on paper. But paper can't keep you warm. Historians still argue whether the king handled relief well or not. You personally feel like everyone is overwhelmed. There's no playbook for your entire capital city burned down. You lie down again at night, staring at stars you couldn't see before. The fire cleared the smoke of everyday life. Now the sky feels bigger. That's something. Wind rustles through the camp. Someone snores. Someone cries quietly. Someone prays. You clutch your tiny bundle of belongings. Everything you own fits in your arms. That thought hurts more than the fire ever did. But you're alive. And right now that has to be enough. Section 11. You hear whispers about St. Paul's before you see it. People say it collapsed. People say it melted. People say the books inside cried as they burned. Londoners love drama, but this time, it's all true. You walk slowly toward the ruins. The cathedral once dominated the skyline, its dome a proud landmark you could spot from miles away. Now it looks like a skeleton wearing a crown of ash. The lead roof is gone, melted and poured down the sides like frozen tears. The stone walls still stand, stubborn, but hollow. Mainstream historical fact for this moment. St. Paul's Cathedral burned on the September 4th when surrounding buildings caught fire. Despite being made of stone, the intense heat caused its structure to fail, destroying thousands of books stored inside. You step closer. The ground crunches under your boots. Burned paper flakes swirl in the breeze. You pick one up. It disintegrates between your fingers, knowledge reduced to dust. It feels wrong, like the city lost its memory. A bookseller stands nearby, staring. His entire stock was stored in the crypt. He tells you he thought it was fireproof. Stone walls, underground, safe. He laughs bitterly. Nothing's safe, he says. You nod. Lesson learned. Historians still argue whether storing books in the cathedral was a smart move or a desperate gamble. Looking at the ashes now, it feels painfully human. People always think they've found the safest place, until they haven't. You wander through the wreckage. A massive bell lies cracked on the ground. Someone touches it like it's a fallen hero. Bells used to mark time, celebrations, deaths. Now it's silent. London feels quieter without it. Quirky tidbit time. Some people tried to collect melted lead from the cathedral roof to sell later. Tragedy recycling. You sit on a broken stone and close your eyes. You imagine how it sounded before. Choirs, echoes, footsteps. Now all you hear is wind. It whistles through broken arches like a ghost song. A group of children run past you, laughing. They slide down ash piles like it's a playground. You smile despite yourself. Life refuses to stop, even here. You hear that officials plan to rebuild St. Paul's bigger and better. Christopher Wren again. He's basically London's architectural therapist now. Historians still argue whether the new cathedral captured the spirit of the old one. Future people will decide that. Right now, it just feels impossible that anything will stand here again. You walk away slowly, glancing back once more. The ruins feel like a tombstone for the old London. Back at the camps, people share stories about where they were when they heard St. Paul's fell. Disaster memories are weird like that. Everyone remembers the exact moment. You tell someone you were by the river, they nod like it matters. Maybe it does. You lie down again that night, staring at the stars. You miss church bells. You never thought you'd say that. The silence feels too big. Section 12. Time starts to feel strange now. Days blur together, measured less by sunrise and more by hunger, rumors, and exhaustion. You wake up and forget for half a second what happened. Then you smell smoke, and it all crashes back in like a bad memory notification. The fire is officially over, but its consequences keep spreading. Officials walk through the camps, counting people, writing notes, pretending they have a plan. You overhear them arguing about costs. Rebuilding will be expensive. Someone jokes, should have insured the city. Dark humor again. It never dies. Mainstream historical fact for this section. The fire destroyed 87 churches, including St. Paul's, and wiped out the commercial heart of London. The city's economy basically hit the reset button. You help where you can. Clearing rubble, carrying water, it gives your day structure. Without tasks, your brain drifts to dark places. Productivity is therapy. You walk past a group of merchants arguing about whose shop burned first. It sounds ridiculous, but livelihoods are personal. If your shop burned earlier, you lost everything sooner. Grief competition is a thing, apparently. Historians still argue whether London recovered quickly or painfully slowly. Standing here, it feels like both. People are moving, but emotionally, everyone's stuck in September 1666. You see wooden posts being hammered into the ground, surveyors marking new street lines, wider streets, straighter paths, less medieval maze energy. That gives you hope. The old London was charming, but also a death trap. Quirky tidbit, some residents complain the new street plans ruin their shortcuts. Even after a disaster, people hate change. You meet a man who used to own 3 houses, lost them all. He laughs like it's a joke. Trauma humor again. He says he's starting over as a carpenter, reinventing himself at 50. Respect. You think about your own future. You have no home, no job, blank slate. Scary, but kind of exciting too. You could be anyone now. A royal proclamation is read aloud in the camp. It says new houses must be built of brick or stone. No more wooden death boxes. People cheer. Finally, a sensible rule. Mainstream fact. After the fire, building laws changed to require brick and stone construction. London literally learned from its mistakes. Historians still argue whether this slowed rebuilding or made the city safer long-term. You don't care. You just don't want to burn alive again. You wander through the ruins again. Smoke still rises from deep pockets. You kick a brick and it crumbles. Everything feels fragile. Fringe tidbit. Some people believed ghosts now haunted burned streets. Honestly, you wouldn't be surprised. At night, the camps are quieter now. Less crying, more tired silence. Acceptance creeping in. You stare at the stars again. They feel familiar now, like old friends. You whisper, "I'm still here," but this time it feels like a promise. Section 13. You start noticing small signs of life creeping back into the ruins. Someone opens a makeshift stall selling apples. Another person repairs boots using scavenged leather. It's messy, improvised, but it's something. London isn't dead, it's limping. Mainstream historical fact for this part. Within weeks of the fire, markets reopened in temporary locations. Trade slowly resumed because, frankly, people needed to eat. Capitalism respawns quickly. You buy a bruised apple with the last of your coins. It's overpriced. You don't care. You bite into it and juice runs down your wrist. Best apple of your life. Trauma seasoning. You overhear builders arguing about brick prices. Demand exploded. Everyone wants safer homes now. Brick makers are basically rock stars. Historians still argue whether poorer citizens could even afford these new safer buildings. Safety costs money, unfortunately. You help carry bricks for a new foundation. It feels symbolic, like you're literally building the future. Your arms ache, but it's a good ache. Quirky tidbit. Some people reuse bricks from burned buildings. Recycling before it was cool. You walk past surveyors again, measuring streets. They talk about urban planning like it's a magical spell. Wider roads mean fire can't jump so easily. Revolutionary concept. You imagine walking these streets one day without fear. Shops open, children playing, taverns loud again. It feels unreal but comforting. A woman thanks you for helping earlier in the camps. She offers you a place to sleep for the night. A real roof. You almost cry. Inside it smells like damp wood and soup. Heaven. You sit by a tiny fire. Controlled fire. Friendly fire. It feels weird not to flinch. Historians still argue whether people developed PTSD from the fire. You don't know the term, but you definitely jump at sudden noises now. Fringe tidbit. Some Londoners refuse to live near bakeries after this. Trauma associations are powerful. You lie down on a thin mattress. It feels like luxury. You stare at the ceiling and think about your old home. It's gone, but you're starting to accept it. Acceptance doesn't mean happiness. It just means less pain. You fall asleep faster than you have in weeks. Section 14. You wake up under an actual roof and for a second, you panic. Your brain expects smoke, heat, chaos. Instead, there's quiet. A small crack of morning light slips through a wooden shutter. It feels unreal, safe. You sit up slowly, listening. No screams, no bells, no fire, just distant footsteps and someone stirring a pot in the next room. Safety feels unfamiliar now, like wearing shoes on the wrong feet. You step outside. The street is messy but alive. A cart rolls by. Someone greets you. You nod back, surprised by how normal it feels. London is stitching itself together, one awkward thread at a time. Mainstream historical fact for this section. Within months, rebuilding officially began. The government introduced new street layouts and building regulations to prevent another disaster. Wider roads, brick houses, no more wooden tinderboxes. You walk past a construction site, men hammer bricks into place. Thud, thud, thud. Each sound feels hopeful, like a heartbeat returning to a body. You help carry water to the workers. They thank you. One jokes, "At least now we know how not to build a city." Historians still argue whether London truly learned its lesson or just got lucky with better weather next time. You think? Probably both. You notice something strange. People are kinder, not everyone, but more than before. Strangers talk, share food, compliment each other's survival skills. Trauma turned neighbors into family. Quirky tidbit, some Londoners started celebrating the anniversary of the fire later, lighting controlled bonfires. Humans are weird like that, turning disaster into tradition. You wander through a newly planned street. It feels wide, open, airy. You can see the sky properly. You didn't realize how cramped the old city was until now. You remember squeezing through alleys where sunlight never reached. Romantic in stories, terrible in reality. You overhear someone complaining that the new streets are too straight and boring. Even after everything, people still hate change. Consistency is comforting, even when it kills you. You sit on a stack of bricks and think about your old life. The routines, the predictability. It's gone. But in its place is possibility. Historians still argue whether the fire accidentally modernized London. You smile at the thought. Progress dragged kicking and screaming from tragedy. You feel stronger now. Not physically, your arms still ache, but mentally. You survive something massive. You can survive regular life. You help a child lift a bucket. They grin like you just saved the world. Maybe you did, in their tiny universe. As evening falls, you walk back to your temporary shelter. The sky looks clearer these days, smoke finally fading. You whisper to yourself, London's coming back. And this time, you believe it. You walk through the new streets slowly, like you're meeting an old friend who's had a major glow-up. London feels different, wider, brighter, less like it's trying to choke you in narrow alleyways. You never thought you'd miss the crooked streets, but here you are, feeling nostalgic about paths that once nearly killed you. Mainstream historical fact for this final chapter. After the Great Fire, over 51 new churches were eventually built, many designed by Christopher Wren. London literally rebuilt its soul alongside its streets. You pause near a construction site where workers are laying bricks carefully, like they're stacking hope itself. No rush, no panic, just steady progress. It feels symbolic. Rebuilding isn't dramatic. It's slow, boring, necessary. You remember the flames, the screams, the running, the smell of smoke stuck in your clothes for days. Your body still flinches sometimes when you smell burnt wood. Trauma has a long memory. Historians still argue whether disasters permanently change people or if they slowly revert back to their old selves. You think? Both. You'll always remember the fire, but one day you might laugh again without guilt. Quirky tidbit. Some people kept charred bricks from their homes as paperweights. Casual trauma decor. You meet people you saw in the camps. You recognize each other instantly. Survivor eye contact. No words needed. Shared history is powerful. A woman tells you she's opening a small shop. A man says he's starting a family. Life continues stubbornly, like weeds growing through stone. You realize something big. You're not just surviving anymore. You're living again, making plans, thinking about the future. That feels huge. You sit on a bench and watch the city move. Carts roll, kids chase each other, someone yells about fish prices. Normal chaos, beautiful chaos. You think about everything you lost, then about everything you gained. Perspective, strength, weird fire trivia. Historians still argue whether London was better before or after the fire. You smile. You don't care about better. You care about here, because you're here and London is back. Thank you.